Hello, my name is Paige. I'm the Associate Athletic Director for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here at SDSU Athletics. I oversee our LEADS committee, which impacts our coaches, our staff, and our student athletes. LEADS stands for Leadership, Equity, and Accountability for Diversity in Sports. LEADS here at SDSU does all things DEI, and that it impacts coaches with training, as you already know, and our student athletes, which you already know as well. And we're also the liaison for campus to make sure that we're falling in line with the campus goals and initiatives and strategic plan. But one of the things that LEADS really does offer is the training and development outside of track and field. Outside of the field, we're providing the training of education for leadership, personal development, and professional development. And you've been excellent with your girls in keeping them engaged in a variety of ways.
We've done some team building or some leadership activities together, and would like to continue to do that. But I really liked we did one at the beginning of the year where with a new team, getting the team to get to know each other, as well as empowering our student athlete leaders. So tell them about how we did with our speed dating event.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a speed dating event. It was really, the aim was for them to feel comfortable with each other, feel comfortable with their leadership, and for everyone to get to know each other. So you get to have the crossover between cross country and track and field, indoor, outdoor student athletes. And so that was the goal of the activity, and I mean, also to have a good time. So that was also a plus.
Good. You've done some work with my student athletes, individually, with or without me, or you've interacted with them quite a bit. Kind of make me proud and make me feel good about how make me feel proud of them and how they've just conducted themselves within the department and kind of the activities you've done with them, or even just interactions you've had with them.
One of the things when you are in administration and communicating to the main campus or community about the excellence that happens within our athletic departments, I can always depend on going to track and field. Our student athletes show up and show out, to be honest. Serving in a variety of ways, from SAC being a DEI liaison for me, to our inter-athletic council, which includes members across campus and presidential appointees. So they are interacting with very high level administrators here at SDSU, and they represent themselves in SDSU track and field very well.
Yeah, I know we have one of our student athletes, Jada Moore in particular, who's done quite a bit. She's one of my top, one of my better athletes. She's one of my top athletes on the team, who's also, pre-med, and she's very involved in connecting with administrators. And Jada's taking business trips,
Oh yeah, and she also participated in the Women's Fund and was the very first speaker for that. And really is an example of what it means to have excellence in athletics, because it goes beyond just the sport, and she's doing it in every way.
Now, you yourself were a former basketball player at a conference rival at Fresno State when you competed. So I really appreciate in working with you that you have that background of being an athlete and being a student athlete and working on both sides of the fence, being on the administrative side, the coaching side, and now being an advocate in a sense for student athletes as well. I'm curious, what do my athletes say about the coaching staff?
They love you guys. I mean, absolutely adore you.
What do they complain about?
I don't really think there is a complaint that we get from the staff. I think what you will get is what you see, and that is going to be structure, accountability, and support. And that support extends beyond track and field. And I think that has been what's been communicated to all of us administrative-wise, including the ability of you, especially you and your staff, of creating community outside of Fowler Athletics. And I think it's amazing the things that you have been able to do and how you're able to connect with every single student athlete on your team.
And that's something that, when I first came here as a head coach, we have all women. I believe in, we call ourselves women of excellence, and I believe in empower women coaches and women athletes all around. And so I made a point to make sure that even if I don't have a direct relationship with every athlete, I want to know every single woman on my team so that they always know that I'm an advocate for them. And it's good to hear that in your interactions outside of me and outside of, being on the track or me around, that my student athletes are reflecting those values that we have for the program and the culture.
Oh yeah, you can tell a lot about the coaches and the coaching staff on how their student athletes act outside of their sport. and the representation that you all have and the commitment and dedication, because they don't just show up, they participate.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important in their personal development beyond their sport.
So we bring in, obviously, new student athletes. You see freshmen, you see sophomores, you see juniors, you see seniors. So, in your career, in this role, you're gonna see the athletes grow. And tell me if you're a new student athlete coming into San Diego State, in your role, how would you what resources or what support would you, in your role, provide a track and field athlete coming to San Diego State?
So one of the things that I absolutely love is just being a sounding board outside of their coaches, for them to be able to come into my office, and whether it's just to sit and kind of relax and de-stress from their day, or if they have an issue that maybe they are just trying to navigate, being that support for them is something that I truly value and I appreciate coming from a former student athlete into this role. Second is also providing them the campus resources. So through our resource centers, that includes our Women's Resource Center, our Pride Resource Center, our BRC, which is our Black Resource Center, and beyond. There are resources on campus that they can also tap into. In addition to what they don't realize is the work that you all do on the back end, of getting the training and development and all of the things that you guys participate in with me. That carries over to the continued education that goes to the track and field student athletes.
Yes. So, being the Associate Athletic Director of DEI, I'm curious how, in your role, you relate to and find the connections of ways to connect with the diversity of people. So track and field essentially is 5 sports in one.
Yeah.
So you've got athletes who are throwers, sprinters, jumpers, hurdlers, distance runners, sprinters that have different backgrounds and different mindsets. And you also have the diversity of if I can be open, our cross country team is predominantly, white. Yeah. Our track team is mixed, and we all come together. We don't really have any issues on our team per se, because we really see ourselves as a family. Yeah. But tell me, in your interactions with, the student body, I guess the student athletes at large, but in particular track and field, do you see the connections are there, the natural, in this culture that we're living in, this climate that we're living in, ability for student athletes to connect on the same level and respect each other's backgrounds, gender, race, all those things. Those are hot topics these days.
It is. I think COVID definitely had an impact, right, on how student athletes have been coming into this environment, especially because they had been isolated and didn't have that interaction with coaches and people and students in that growth. So really we are advocating in my role to help them continue that growth and development in those various areas. I think additionally, when we speak to a lot of what you were saying, like the family kind of atmosphere, not having issues on a team, that starts directly with you guys and how you approach your teaching style with them, and what you foster. As a former student athlete, I'm able to connect because I know what it's like to have both sides, the not so great and the great environment, and to express to them, here's what it takes, one, to be a championship level student athlete, which means that you have to support those around you. You don't ever do it alone. And so when they start to recognize that, and I think you guys instill that into them, you can't help but cheer everybody along.
Right. I've sat in on one of your workshops before, which was very good, by the way. I want to let you know that we're still talking about it.
Thank you.
I've sat in on one of your workshops, and I think I was even challenged to know that, coaching NCAA is changing the expectations, relationships that coaches have with student athletes is changing. The dynamics of what's acceptable and what's not, of what's offensive and what's not, and what you can say and you can't say. And I think and this is something we can talk about because it's important, because it has a lot to do with how I relate to my athletes. Because it's so easy to, as a coach, to be afraid to not embrace, talk. Well, I do it anyway, but I know that there's ways that you can be better about it so that you're making sure everyone does feel included. And in sitting in your workshop, it was real good for me and challenging for me to really have to make an effort to realize like, this can be done, it's just gonna be work to be able to make sure everyone feels valued and included.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is being a continuous learner, and you and your staff continue to do that. And I think being able to connect with various generations, because you know, we age. They stay 18 to 23 of the population that we're dealing with. So being able to connect with them and have understanding of the things that they're going through, and continually growing and understanding that we're not perfect, but we're always striving for that.
I say stuff I shouldn't say.
Yeah. And I think having the ability, which your girls have, to come to you and have that ability to have those authentic conversations, which is what we had. I think that is more powerful than so many other things of going to a workshop, is having that connection with your coach. Yeah,
so a lot of things that, you know, I don't like a lot of programming. Like when we're having to program a lot of things, I hate that. But there's one thing that's very, I think in our program, and hopefully you're able to see this, or I'm recognized as a coach, as a challenge, is like, ultimately, we want to win.
Right.
You know, we're at San Diego State, I'm at a quote unquote mid-major that's competing like a major institution because of the mindset I have to perform and to win. And old school, you know, I'm old school UCLA graduate, coached by Bob Kersey, you know, I come from that stock, and so I have that in me, and it's this way, there's a line, there's a standard, there's this, there's that. Given the environment that we're living in now with DEI being such a hot topic, and kids are mental health is super important. Athletes are more sensitive than they used to be. You know, you want to value people because you want to be valued. Tell me the position or the place that you've experienced where this need to win or this want to win, because there's a win at all cost approach to things. Now we've all been there. I've been there.
Been there.
Right? There's a win at all cost approach to things, and there's a win for the benefit of all way to win. And how does that play into what you are experiencing, what you see, your background, and what you're trying to share with student athletes and even coaches in your role?
I think, you know, back in the day, it was more of there wasn't a conversation, right? You just did what you were told to do, and that was the end all be all. I think now, I don't call it balance, I call it harmony. You find that harmony of being able to communicate with the student athletes and get their feedback and input, because mental health is such a major topic, because we are seeing issues in that realm. That communication and back and forth is so valuable, and just being able to create an inclusive environment within the team. So that's more of what we are practicing when we're talking about DEI, especially across generational differences, of us being able to communicate where we've learned everything a certain way and we operated in that to be successful. Now we can alter that, but there's still a piece of saying that this is what it means to be a high-level competitor.
Yes.
You have found that balance, because you do. Not only are you championships in the Mountain West, but you're competing and always ranking and doing all of these positive things at the NCAA level with significantly less resources.
Yes.
And I think that is a valuable insight for any potential student athlete to consider, is who is your coach? How are they going to support you in that way? I
always say that, you know, we are a coach-athlete-centered, relationship-centered program. I know people say that, but I think that we do it in a very intentional way. We have a program here now called Aztecs Going Pro. My first 5 years at San Diego State, I had a program called Arete Equals Excellence, which was just for track and field athletes, which was a life skills program, doing very similar things that we're doing now, but we've been doing it in track and field for my career here at San Diego State, because that's just what I believe as a coach and what benefits student athletes and just my experiences. But in sport with DEI, right? In sport amongst athletes, do you find that athletes are, you know, track and field and, you know, basketball and football and baseball here in this department, you see a lot of separation in some schools. Some universities are much bigger, and you never see a football player, you never see a basketball player. What's it like here? at San Diego State?
It's different because everybody is in one building, one home. You get to see a little bit of everyone. And so when you come to a track and field competition, you'll see a football player, you'll see a baseball player, you'll see a water polo player and swim and dive showing up in support. So I think because we have that atmosphere here, where it truly is like a family coming at home every day to their various areas, that you have that support across sports.
Yeah, the reason I brought that up because I think that's a selling point for San Diego State as an athletic department. You know, track and field, yes. You know, like I can sell track and field, but I can tell you what's a selling point for our athletic department as a quote unquote mid-major university is that if you come to SDSU, you get seen.
Oh, 100%.
If you get to come to SDSU, especially in track and field, you can be good. You're going to get great coaching, you're going to get great support, but you can be everything you want to be, but be seen and not be a number. And so a lot of what's driving collegiate athletics is about the numbers and, you know, the bottom line, the bottom line, the bottom line. And I love the fact that as a university, our athletic director and then how we run our program is like, I want to be able to coach you. I want to be able to know you, and I want to be able to have an impact on your life once you leave San Diego State so we can create Aztecs for life.
Yes.
And in that, I'm really happy that we have this unique kind of opportunity here at SDSU to rank, you know, to continue to push the rankings on the national level in our athletic programs, but also to like just stick to the mission of collegiate athletics.
Yeah, I 1000% agree with you. And I think in addition to not just the student athletes, but all of the staff, the coaches get to know them, athletic trainers get to know them, everyone that is associated with athletics, and that's across campus as well, they know the student athletes and will call them out by name. You don't get that necessarily everywhere else that you'll attend. So
I always say that like this whole college game and recruiting is a business.
Yeah.
It's a business, and we got to do business. You know, in track and field, you got to score points.
Yeah.
You got to do business. But what we want to do is we want to do good business. And I think that one of the, if you could agree with this, one of the good things about San Diego State is that we try as best we can to do good business.
Oh, 100%. And you know, I got to brag on you a little bit. So in addition to the leadership and development that you were doing prior to AGP getting here, you also helped create the LEADS program. You were there to implement and provide the insight that was necessary from a coach that has done it. And I think that is crucial when we're also talking about the advantages of SDSU, is because you actually put in the work outside of that. You've helped develop the department as a whole to be better.
Appreciate that.
And so we are doing that not just on the track and field team, but you do that beyond that. Again, another example of why your student athletes do the same thing. It's because they have an example to see of what success looks like and what good success looks like. And so I have to give kudos to you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I do. I love this team. I love my girls. I love my team. Even when it's hard, I like the people. And so that's, you know, when I recruit, you know, I always say you don't always recruit a talent, right? You recruit a talent, but you also recruit a mentality. Not everybody's for San Diego State, but if you are for San Diego State, I think we can provide all the resources and opportunities you need. And what you do and what you're bringing to the table at SDSU has just taken it up a level. Because now there's an opportunity for people like me, like, you know, I don't have to give all those talks. So now I can actually come to you, Paige, I want to do a conflict. I want to have a mediation, do a workshop on conflict. I resolve conflict with my team, which I want to do. We can do that, and now you're actually offering coaches the support to be able to do those things that sometimes, you know, are hard, or we're doing so many other things that now we have someone like you to help bridge that gap.
Yeah, I know. When I started working in college athletics, I immediately called my coach and apologized because I just did not understand all of the things that went into coaching.
We do a lot.
There's so much that is on your plates, from advocating for your student athletes to budget conversations, equipment conversations, to championship conversations, practice times, weight times, athletic medicine, not to mention the personal parts of the student athletes that they bring to you, that you're also handling. So you're handling all of that, right? Why not take some of that off of your plate so you can also focus on the coaching? Right? And so I think it's a team effort when you're approaching the success of a team. And I'm just grateful to be a part of.
No, I appreciate you.
success.
No, I'm really happy to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.